from one Italian to another. Ti condanno a morte. That translates to, I sentence you, Mr. Lorenzo, to death. That is the punishment that you deserve.
I'm saying pull the trigger, the killer's done, now masturbates to memory of you.
Then Judge Kubicki sentenced Smith Riley to life without the possibility of parole for Portia's murder and more time for errant shooting.
As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder.
It's going to take time. It's going to take time for all of us.
Dozier had been very clear himself. He would rather die than spend the rest of his life in prison.
I have no regrets in my life and am proud of every decision I've ever made.
Courtroom 360 Insights. Have you ever imagined what runs through the mind of a killer when they receive a life sentence or death penalty? Do they feel sorry for their action? Do they accept their fate? Here's 5 murderers whose reaction to death or life sentence is mind-boggling. Starting with this oddball, Stephen Lorenzo.
Mr. Schweikert got carried away. He lost control. He did that once before on a meeting I had with on a group thing we did together once before, and scared the heck out of the other guy. But anyway, he lost control. The kid started to scream and get all upset. We did the video, we put a gas mask on him because he did not want to be identified while being videotaped. So that's why the gas mask went on.
Stephen Lorenzo of Florida, who was born in 1959, was sentenced to death for the murder of 2 gay men in December 2003, Jason Galehouse and Michael Wachholtz in Tampa, Florida. Authorities say that he allegedly brought these men to his house, assaulted them sexually, tortured them, then eventually killed them. Now, before this sentence was made public, Lorenzo was granted an opportunity to make a last-minute statement, which sounded more like he won an Oscar.
First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Sonardi, and everybody else that was part of the defense team. They were absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Can I address the state attorney?
You may.
Yes. I'd like to let you guys know that I have no animosity against you. You did your job, and you did a very good job of prosecuting this case. So I want to thank you for that because I appreciate your fairness to me, and that's what I appreciate. In this lifetime, I'm the bad guy, you're the good guy. Maybe the next lifetime the role will be reversed, who knows? But I want to let you know that I wish you all well. And to the judge, I want to thank you because you have had incredible tolerance and patience and fairness to me while I stumbled my way through this whole process. And I want to appreciate that. I want you to know that, and I want that on the record for the Florida Supreme Court. So I'd like that to be there.
Stephen Lorenzo, such an oddball, desperately wanted the death penalty. He practically begged for it.
I'm seeking the death penalty. It's in my best interest, basically, because it's a comfort. I'll be living a lot more comfortable than I would in the federal system, living on death row, believe it or not. And of course, that may sound selfish, but I've lived in a private cell for the last 5 years, and I'm going to have a private cell on death row. At my age, I want to be comfortable. I want my privacy. That's what I want. So that's what I'm doing. It may sound selfish, but that's the way it is. You live for today. You don't live for the past. You live for today. So I'm asking you to give me the death sentence because that'll be more comfortable for me to live out my lifetime. I know I can be on death row for about 10 or 15 years, which I think is crazy. But as far as I see it, it's just euthanasia. I already have a death sentence. Everybody in this room has a death sentence. So as far as I'm concerned, you're just offering me a euthanasia that I'm looking to do willingly. That's all it really comes down to. And so I'm asking you to do that. So, and I'm going to try to speed up this process so I don't have to wait 15 years because I got better things to do in my time.
After he made this statement, Judge Sabella perceived it to be a reverse psychology strategy that Lorenzo was trying to use on him. And he responded with saying,
And I don't know if what you say is perhaps some form of reverse psychology, nor do I care. I will not consider what you want in issuing my sentence.
I know that, yes.
All right, so I am then ready to proceed. Did you have anything else that you want to say?
No, I'm pretty good. I'm looking forward to getting this over with. It's been 5 long years.
All right. Today, that long wait ends. In the words of Miss Pam Williams, from one Italian to another, ti condanno a morte. That translates to, I sentence you, Mr. Lorenzo, to death. That is the punishment that you deserve for these horrific crimes. My reasoning is explained in a 40-page order that I have prepared and signed and am filing contemporaneous with this sentence. Will be handed out to the defense and the state now. You were previously adjudicated. You shall be transferred to the Department of Corrections to await your execution.
He desperately wanted the death penalty, which he got. He already filed a notice of appeal before his sentencing. Pam Williams, the mother of one of the deceased, Jason Galehouse, has waited over 20 years to confront the killer of her son. She didn't hold back.
From one Italian to the other, ciao ciao, buona fortuna. You know what that means? Goodbye, good luck. And this mother's out to get her revenge.
Pam Williams has waited nearly 20 years to confront her son's killer.
And I can tell you right now, I am sick of my stomach just to have to look at your disgusting face. Yeah, that's right. Make a face, you creep. You should be dead already, as far as I'm concerned. You put me through holy hell. Not only that, my health, because now I've got stage 4 breast cancer. I'm not saying that you caused all of it, but you caused plenty of it with emotional strain.
As odd as Lorenzo is, he did act remorseful. This next case ain't the same. Defendant Thomas Lane, 17 years old. Thomas Lane, a 17-year-old male idiot and former student at Chardon High School. Lane grew up in a violent family where his parents were charged for domestic abuse against each other. Records show that his older brother Adam Nolan has been arrested 19 times for misconduct, theft, and other crimes related to the misuse of drugs. February 2012, Chardon High School would forever be changed.
Desperate 911 calls from a school under siege.
Hi, Chardon High School. We had shots fired, gunshots, multiple gunshots. 911.
Chardon High School, we need police up here. There's someone in the building with a gun.
Yeah.
Today, police announced that 2 more students shot in the school have died. Russell King and Demetrius Hewlin, seen here in their yearbook photos. A 3rd student, Daniel Parmator, died just hours after the shooting. Late this afternoon, a glimpse of the 17-year-old suspect, TJ Lane, on his way to court. Prosecutors say Lane confessed to the crime but offered no explanation for what drove him to kill.
He admitted he went into the school cafeteria and fired 10 rounds at a group of students sitting at a cafeteria table, that he did not know the students, but he chose them randomly.
But why? Few clues so far. ABC News obtained court records showing both Lane's parents have a history of domestic violence. In 2002, his father was charged with attempted murder. There have been conflicting reports Lane was bullied in school. He's been described as a quiet teen, one friend telling me he'd seen a change, but nothing that raised alarms.
He was a good student in school, and he just turned goth and his grades started dropping.
For the first time today, we're hearing from Frank Hall, the hero coach, who chased Lane out of the school, saving untold lives.
I just want to say that I'm sorry to the families, to the victims. I wish I could have done more.
Lane was arrested by the police near his car, which was parked outside the school. Now, considering his age, he was detained as a juvenile pending a decision by the prosecution and court as to whether he would be tried as an adult or not. In May 2012, a judge concluded that Lane was competent enough to stand trial and decided to charge Lane as an adult. At Lane's sentencing, this fool Lane wore a t-shirt with the word killer written on it.
As soon as TJ Lane walked in, he was executing his plan, taking off his button-down shirt to reveal this, a white t-shirt with the word killer scribbled on it, showing it off with a smug smile on his face. He wore one like it the day of the shootings.
I hate you for the pain you've caused, Nick. You chased him down the hall and fired the last bullet that paralyzed him. Why? Why did you do it? Why?
Throughout their statements, Lane just smiled, and at one point even raised his middle finger to victims' families. And his statement to the court, just too vulgar to say.
Well, it was a very difficult statement to hear and to see its effect on the families. I mean, I don't think anyone could say anything different.
Y'all think it's crazy that the court allowed this behavior? TJ Lane, the loser, pleaded guilty and received 3 consecutive life sentences without parole on March 19th, 2023. Now, this next defendant had a total opposite reaction to his sentence. Jaleel Smith Riley. Now, Jaleel Smith Riley is a Spanish-American who was born in 1994. Jaleel Smith Riley was involved in a killing of Portia Brooks in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Police have arrested 22-year-old Jaleel Markeith Smith Riley with the murder of Portia Brooks. Police say that they know of a second suspect who is in jail right now out of state. In fact, they also say that charges are pending against that second suspect, and a third suspect, police say, has since died. Police say Smith Riley and the second suspect have already admitted to the crime. Now, Portia Brooks and her boyfriend, Aaron Martin, were shot while sitting in their car 2 years ago. Brooks was killed. Martin survived.
According to court documents, Jaleel Smith Riley forced Portia's boyfriend, Martin, out of the passenger side. He searched his pockets but couldn't find anything. Then he shot him. Luckily, Martin survived his injuries. Jaleel Smith Riley pleaded guilty to the aggravated murder and attempted murder, but decided to withdraw his plea against the advice of his attorneys. A Hamilton County judge denies his request to withdraw his plea and sentences him to life in prison without any possibility of parole. Jaleel Smith Riley's reaction to his sentence was pitiful.
Life without parole has to count for the offense of attempted murder, violation.
This reaction from a confessed killer was the last in a series of intense moments in this Hamilton County courtroom.
Portia's mother and sister held no remorse for this crying killer who took their precious angel away.
I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
With his request to withdraw his guilty plea denied and death penalty off the table, the families of Portia Brooks and Aaron Martin pleaded with Judge Charles Kubicki to hand down the maximum sentence. Smith Riley's family begged for a shorter one. With no criminal record outside of that night, they believed he had the capacity to be rehabilitated. But at one point, Brooks' mother, Sharon, said her daughter's killer took her life too. Now she says her family can move toward peace.
Right now, it's dark. I'm sure with the help of my family, my daughter, my son, I'm sure I'll be able to one day. But this day marks the first day of being able to do that.
Sorry, Jaleel. Like Portia's sister said, she got to deal with life without her sister, and you got to deal with all your new friends in prison. This next killer seems like a sensible human and makes you wonder how he fell into a bad situation. Scott Dozier, an American murderer who was born in November 20th, 1970 in Boulder City, Nevada. Scott Dozier was on death row for the murder of 22-year-old Jeremiah Miller, who was a part of his drug associates.
Scott Dozier was convicted of 2 murders, including the 2002 killing of a Las Vegas man. The victim dismembered, stuffed in a suitcase, and dumped in a trash bin.
There is no part of my life that I'm satisfied with.
Dozier says he wants to die, but his execution has been caught up in the courts for years.
He had 2 siblings. While he grew up, he served in the U.S. military and had a child from Angela Drake, whom he has been dating from his high school days and eventually got married to. Dozier's major income came from his production and sales of methamphetamine. So Dozier broke down in his emotions while explaining his crime and how he feels. And he breaks down in tears when he's talking about his siblings.
But yes, we are very close, loved them dearly, dearly, dearly. Brothers have a real tough time with it. No one thinks it's a stellar idea by any stretch, but they all understand. Yeah, I don't want to reveal honor their privacy in this. But yeah, I'm very close to them. They're awesome. It doesn't make it less hard, and so I'm really forced to stop because it's kind of been a whirlwind lately, you know. And when I just stop and focus on him, it gets difficult. Because I know it hurts him. In my life that I'm satisfied with. There's no relationship that couldn't be leagues better. I mean, it's every aspect of my life, it's the bare minimum. I mean, it's just me making the best out of a bad situation. So whether it's, I don't really engage in romantic relationships per se, especially not exclusive ones, but there's people I certainly love in a romantic way. But I see them across the visitation table, you know what I mean? And it's the same way with every single relationship. That's the extent of my relationships, are phone calls, and seeing someone across the visitation table, and that's not acceptable. I miss every single thing about making my own choices. I miss not being able to walk more than fucking 5 feet in one direction. I miss not being able to go running when I want to go running. I miss not being able to go outside when I want to go outside. I miss not being the person who goes and visits people. I fucking miss.
Some defendants are just pure evil. In this case, he shows a softer side.
What do you hope for your son? What do you hope for your grandkids?
They are more successful in finding happiness and some degree of satisfaction and gratification in a life within the parameters, you know what I'm saying? My inability to do that clearly is a sizable portion for me being here. And I just hope they're able to do that, you know?
And I swear this is the smartest killer I've ever heard. Dozier knew what he did was wrong and had this to say about his crime.
If Jeremiah Miller's family really thinks I killed him, they should have the opportunity to kill me. You know what I mean? And so I guess maybe I do believe to some extent in an eye for eye. I mean, I know how I would respond if somebody killed somebody I loved, and I was sure they did it.
While he was in court for trial, Scott Dozier made a deadly request.
My outlook on this is that personally, I'm not that concerned with it. I think once they get started, they're going to get it done one way or another. It's ideally it not be terrible and painful, but if it is, I'm kind of committed at that point.
So there's nothing that's occurred in the last year, including discussions about the drugs, the efficacy of the drugs, whether they have the drugs, whether the drugs used in other states have had problematic, perhaps painful or protracted executions. That has not dissuaded you from asking me to sign this warrant in this order?
It is not. Your Honor, all the people ended up dead, and that's my goal here.
Are you sure this is what you wish me to do?
I am, yes, 100% sure.
Okay, the record should reflect I've signed the first supplemental warrant of execution, setting the execution date as required by statute the week of October 16, 2017, and the first supplemental order of execution.
My conscience is clear, genuinely. There is no women, no children, and no law-abiding citizens that they've even accused me of crimes against. You know what I mean? And I don't have feelings of guilt. I don't have grand ideas worried about being judged by God or anybody else. I really don't. Those just aren't even issues for me. I've got a very strict moral code that I live by. Granted, it's not exactly the same as the social construct or social contract, but a lot of it is.
With the big story tonight in northern Nevada, a death row inmate, Scott Dozier, found dead from an apparent suicide in his jail cell. It's a confusing case that has dragged on for more than a decade. Just last year, Nevada prison officials told us Scott Dozier had gone to great lengths to try to kill himself while awaiting execution. But we're learning tonight he was not on suicide watch.
Dozier takes you on an emotional roller coaster ride, not knowing how to feel about his whole situation. I can't say the same for this last case. Defendant Peter Avsenew. Peter Avsenew had a rough childhood, which was filled with physical and sexual abuse. Now at a point, his older sister's boyfriend killed his sister, which stirred up anger in him. He became very violent. He had weird behavior that frightened his mother, Jean Avsenew. His mother once found a shotgun shell in Peter's room with her name written on it. Man, talk about red flags everywhere. In 2010, Avsenew got himself into a whole heap of trouble.
He didn't just take the life of one person. He took the life of one person and he made the conscious decision, premeditated decision, to take the life of a second person.
Prosecutor Sherry Tate is asking the jury to recommend the death penalty in this case. That same jury found him guilty of killing Stephen Adams and Kevin Powell, using their credit cards and stealing their car just before Christmas in 2010. He eventually fled to his mother's house in Central Florida. She's the one who turned him in after learning he was the prime suspect in the double murder. Prosecutors told the jury he deserves the death penalty because of the heinous nature of the murders.
You saw the evidence that you know that Stephen Adams was shot 9 times in the head, was beaten in the head. Kevin Powell also had that giant laceration to his head. He was shot 2 times.
I wholeheartedly have nothing to lose, and I'm going to take it out on everybody I can.
Avsenew wasn't too happy with the sentence and had this to say.
I have no regrets in my life, and I'm proud of every decision I've ever made. Nobody here knows what really happened that day. Everyone can speculate what ifs and maybes until they're blue in the face, but you'll never really know. You would need a Ouija board for that.
Some of these cases you can dig up some pity, and others you wonder if their heart is made of pure evil. Man, may God have mercy on these souls.
Courtroom 360 Insights.